This podcast could potentially have adult language, adult themes, definitely drinking, and possibly the possibility of sexual content. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Drinking with Authors, the Macron edition. No, just kidding. The Literary Briefs edition. I'm your host, Erica Lance. My co-host today is the amazing, fantastic Bo Lake. And our guest today is Lyra R. It's very elegant in that chair if you're watching the YouTube video. Okay, let's talk about what we're drinking, shall we? We shall. Okay, I am drinking hot toddy, but I put tea in it, then whiskey, because that's what it is, and a big slice of lemon, because somebody just called me to notify me they tested positive for COVID that I was hanging out with for 2 days. Can't wait. That's super exciting. But what are you drinking?
I am only drinking a Coke Zero today, which is not exciting. I'm sorry.
It's not exciting, and it doesn't match your hair, so fail.
I know. Usually my drink matches.
It either matches or it's alcoholic, and those are the two I'll accept in the future. I will not accept Coke Zero by itself. So
I better go get some more Arizona green teas then, and maybe some like rum to put in my Coke.
there you go. I'll accept both of those. Lyra, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a root beer with a little bit of rum in it.
See, you could have done that. Do you see how simple it is to say a little bit of rum? Boom.
Yeah.
Well,
I didn't want to
my straw
lie.
matches your hair.
Yeah.
There you go.
I didn't want to lie and say I was drinking something I was not.
No, well, I don't want you to lie. I want you to drink the little bit of wine.
Yeah, I'll have to get some before next time.
What I don't want is Val to ever drink champagne again. That's what I don't
Oh
want.
my gosh, she was hungover for a while.
Oh, she was wait till you hear that episode. That was a shit show. She's drinking, she's like, it's sparkling wine. I'm like, sweetie, that's like champagne. Have you ever drunk champagne? And she's like, no. And I'm like, oh God.
In the history of my drinking life, the only thing that has made me sick is champagne.
Yeah. Well, Val, who was co-hosting with me, drank 2 glasses of this. Screwed. She was so terrible. She was just so bad. She's a lightweight.
She texted me after.
But
she texted me after, and it was indecipherable. Like,
yeah, she said that she sent me a text in the middle of the podcast, and it was just letters, and I'm like, oh God. We'll try to make it through this. Okay. So here we go, Lyra. Rapid fire questions. You ready?
Sure.
What is your favorite book of all time?
Stephen King's It.
Why?
Because it's not afraid to go there. He was not afraid to go there.
No, he went many places during that book.
he went there for sure.
He went there, and he went past there, took a right, and then went further there. Yeah.
And then went to turtles. Things get weird near the end.
This is what happens when you drink drugs while you're writing. That's as somebody who drinks while she writes, I understand this.
I just also love the idea of a creature that can take on the form of your worst fear. Like, he was the first to say that, and now everybody has just copied that. So it's a great trope. But
okay, what about your least favorite book of all time?
I recently did not read, because I read the first chapter and decided I wasn't going to read any more of it. Was in a book club, and we were reading the erotica. Oh God, what's the name of it? It's the one that has like the cufflinks on the cover. It's like Bound to Me or something like that. Is it? I don't know. It was one of those books that came out after 50 Shades of Grey, and it was so trashy. I could tell it. E.L. something.
Is it E.L. James's next one after? that person is a terrible writer anyway. I'm sorry. I've said it many times on
It's-
this. She's
It's
fucking terrible.
accurate, true. Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
well,
not
I read
good.
the first chapter and I was like, not only is she bad at writing, but she described a half Asian, half Caucasian person as of mixed descent, and then the black guy's name was this like very non-African American name. I was just like, there's problems here. I'm not reading any more of it. It didn't help that the sexy parts were cringy at best. So
Oh, to me, everything that I've ever seen, I refuse to read any of her books because they're fucking terrible, and I just will not even begin to start there. But there is what was it called? Oh my gosh, there's this very funny person who does movie reviews, and he's got the greatest voice, but he did a review of 50 Shades of Grey, and one of the things that they put was the lines that were in the book that never made it to the movie. And one of them was like, she turned crimson, the way she turned red like a crimson, the color of the Soviet flag. That is legitimately a line in 50 Shades of Grey. Just so, yeah. It's pretty fucking terrible. Okay, so what about one of your favorite books that was turned into a movie or a TV show? Where do you think they did a really good job?
let me think. Favorite books that was turned into a movie or TV show.
There's
The
thinking
first
happening.
two that come,
Okay.
I know this was, sorry, I know this was be right. The first two that come to mind are Jurassic Park and Lord of the Rings. Those I think are the best book to movie adaptation because they didn't worry about staying true to the book. They told their own story in reference to the material in the book, which I greatly respect. I don't think you should ever try to like verbatim copy paste. It's just not going to translate that way.
No, I
So-
think you have to figure out the story in the book that you want to tell, because there's many stories that are in books that you can tell. You're never going to tell the whole book unless you get a TV series and you get it for a long time. And you don't deviate, aka Game of Thrones, from the original one, but it's okay, it's fine.
Like it's fine.
I did like
It's
this
not fine. It's
Sookie
not.
Stackhouse TV series. I think it was Blood. What was it? True Blood?
True
I did
blood.
like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Suki, I didn't like those books.
Okay.
Much happier with the TV show than with the books. I know a lot of people love those books, but I read 3 of them because friends after the show came out were like, you should read these, they're so great. And she changed the race and the look of one of the characters from one book to the next, and I was like, the fuck is actually happening here? Like I can't stand that. But I know a lot of people think she's fantastic, which is fine. That's all about the reading and writing. You can, I mean, there are some people that probably listen to the show that are like, I think E.L. James is the best person in the entire world. Blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, what is your favorite way to dress when you write? If you could like dress in one kind of outfit to write all the time, what would be your fave? Look at that. I know, Bo, you're wowed by my new questions.
I've been thrown.
If-
That's a new one.
If I could establish the perfect setting, I would be a Victorian era gown in an old creepy mansion with a typewriter and a glass of cognac next to me. That's if we were doing it that way, that's what I would do. However, in today's modern era, I wear sweatpants and usually just a sports bra.
I love all of these things. I'm a big fan of pajama pants. Like, I think pajama pants are one of the most fiercely underrated pieces of clothing that exists. Because I feel like even more so than sweatpants, they're applicable everywhere. Nice soft pair of pajama pants. I'm wearing one right now. Hashtag proud of myself. That's okay.
If I didn't have a small child running around constantly making messes, I would love to like write in nightgowns, like just like to be in a nightgown and just be writing. That would be wonderful. I do that. I have a couple nightgowns that I do, but
I love that. Do you have a book that you love to reread? Like, is there a book that you will read over and over again?
There's two. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I read at least once a year. And then around the winter holidays, Christmas time, I always read A Christmas Carol. And then again, this, I guess, also Dracula. I always read Dracula around Halloween. So
I like it. I like it. Go ahead, Bo. You can ask your questions. I'm pausing myself.
What is your least favorite book to movie adaptation?
on the basis of it was just a horrible movie, Aragon. On the basis of they completely missed the point of the book, I would have to say, oh my gosh, it's in the back of my head. It was awful.
Give us some hints.
It's one of the Frankenstein movies that's come out. But it was like a more recent one. Like they didn't stay true to the book at all, and because of that, they completely missed the point. Oh wait, no, I'll give a better one. The Lovecraft story that they made. It's on Shudder. It has that very famous actor that you either love him or you hate him, Nicolas Cage.
Oh,
You know which one I'm talking about?
yeah.
Something over Dunwall.
I don't know. I have not seen every Nick Cage movie, but if you want to see a funny
Is it
one,
Color Out of Space?
Yes, that
that
one.
it?
Awful adaptation. Awful. And it was just because Lovecraft stories are all about the unseen and you can't describe it. So when you try to put anything like that in visual, you're going to fall short because the human mind fills in those blanks so much better than any other person could.
do you like cheesy horror movies?
I do love cheesy horror movies. I
I can
do.
tell.
My wife hates that I
That's
love
it.
cheesy horror movies, but I love cheesy horror movies.
What is your favorite cheesy horror movie?
Oh my gosh. Let's see. Have you ever seen the movie Cursed? With
Yes.
Christina Ricci and she's turned into a werewolf.
Yes.
Maybe that's not cheesy, but that's one of my favorite horror movies ever. I also really love
That's not cheesy. You got to go
It's
full
not-
cheese.
Full Cheese.
Like Sharknado is a cheesy horror movie.
I just watched Sharknado. What is Gremlins?
Gremlins
The
is
second one.
definitely. Yeah, I have to say, it's funny because I was around when those first started coming out and stuff like that, and they were kind of near the start because there was Gremlins and then there was Critters, which was Jennifer Aniston was in Critters, I think.
He was in
yeah.
Leprechaun, and then there's also Troll. Have you ever seen Troll?
Oh God, yes.
And we know where someone who will remain nameless got the name for her main character was from that movie.
I love it. I love it. Go ahead, Bo.
Are you a plotter or a quote unquote pantser when you
I
write?
believe what I am is a plantser, is a mix of both. I'll start just going by the seat of my pants, and if I get stuck, then I will plot to get through. It also depends what I'm writing. So like in Prelude with the Wendigo sequence and trying to figure out everything that was going on at the temple, there was a bit of a mystery involved there, and I needed to make sure that it made sense. I feel like because otherwise, if the sequence wasn't right, it was not going to work for the later installments of the books.
Right.
So I did a lot of plotting for that just to make sure that my dates and times and sequential everything was adding up correctly. I still don't think I did it right, but we'll see.
If you
Uber-
had to dedicate your book to a celebrity, who would it be?
A celebrity? I would dedicate so I'm not actually trying to answer the question right now in my head. I'm trying to think, do I want to give a funny answer or do I want to give a serious answer?
Both. Give both.
Both. My funny answer would be I would like to dedicate this series to Britney Spears in honor of her no longer being in service to her father. On the other hand, in seriousness, I would probably dedicate the book, one of the books to one of the actors who inspired it, who I had in my head for Kaito's look, just because he's a very sweet person. His name is Wang Yibo, and whenever I like forget to put romance in the book, I go and I pull up a picture of him. I'm like, oh yeah, right. There's a hot guy. Okay.
You're like, don't forget, he's hot.
Don't forget, there's a hot guy, and people want to see kissing. Maybe.
Oh my gosh. You have your books on audiobook. Have you listened to them?
No, I haven't gotten the chance. I only know the Kelly did my stuff, and she sent me some clips of what she'd done, and I absolutely fell in love. But no, I haven't heard the audiobooks yet, and I want to hear them so bad.
Well, I'll tell you, it's interesting because I think some people are good at listening to their audiobooks. I say that because that's how I catch up on my series, as I go back and I just listen to the audiobook so I remember where the hell I was at before I write my next one. You know, but other people are like, can't stand to hear it because you hear everything, and sometimes you hear the mistakes you've made and things like that. I think we all make mistakes, whether we intend them or not, and then you hear them live and in person as somebody's reading them, and then you're like, son of a bitch. And you know, I had an author who has told me, they're like, I listened to it and my timeline was a little off, and she's like, now I can't unhear it. Can I? So, how much reading do you get done?
Nowadays I read more baby books. So if we're counting books that I've read, we read about at least one or two a day. But the most recent book I read was over the winter break. I read Soulless by Gail Carriger, which I actually really liked. I have the second one on Kindle waiting for me. So
Very cool. What about reviews? Have you looked up your book reviews?
more often than I'd like to admit. I mostly go in and check and see is there anything new, and I'm always like pleasantly surprised if there is something new. I was like, I wanted to like message this person one-on-one because they rated Falsetto a 2-star, but didn't leave like a verbal review. So I'm like, why did you give it a 2-star? Like, what did you not like? What's wrong with it? So I don't know. I haven't gotten anything lower than a 4-star for most. That was the only 2-star I've gotten. So I'm just like, what was wrong?
Well, there could be nothing wrong. It could have just not been for them. Welcome to the world of being able to rate things without having to actually interact with the human on your rating.
That's true.
You know, well,
What is your desert island book?
My desert island book, like that I would have to have.
Yeah.
it might also be the only one you have, so keep that in
Yeah,
mind.
it's the only book you have for the rest of your life on a desert island.
Only book I have for the rest of my life on a desert island. I would say the collected works of would I want H.P. Lovecraft or would I want Jules Verne? I'm going to say Jules Verne. The collective works of Jules Verne.
I like it.
So that gives me the Time Machine, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, War of the Worlds, all those.
Okay. Do you believe in the paranormal?
Yes.
Have you ever seen a ghost?
Seen, no. Possibly heard, maybe. I've definitely been in situations where I feel like something's not quite right. However, I know enough. Bo lives in the Appalachian Mountains. You know, you don't stick around to find out.
Don't look in the trees. Don't look in the trees.
Hear your name on the wind, you just keep walking.
Very true. Okay, what about a weird food combination? What's your favorite, since I got yelled at about my chocolate potato chips and the ice cream?
I didn't yell. I did not yell. I made a face and I said, ew.
It's just about the same.
It's probably not weird, but beef jerky, potato chips, and a soda of some kind is a
Do you
favorite
eat the beef
combination.
jerky
Is that a
on
thing?
the chips? Or do you eat
Beef-
them separate?
Beef jerky and potato chips, and they go in at the same time. And then, but only on a road trip.
Okay. Okay. Do you like road trips?
No.
So you have to have a snack because it's unbearable otherwise.
Yeah. It's okay if I'm driving, but most often I'm a passenger, so.
If you could travel anywhere, where would it be?
Japan. That one's easy. Osaka, Japan for one of their lantern festivals.
Very cool. If you could go to any literary world, where would you want to go visit?
Wonderland.
That's a dangerous place to be, my friend. Anybody who says Wonderland, I go, because you've read Alice in Wonderland, I go, it's not the Disney version of that.
Well, but
We've had a lot of people say that recently in Wonderland.
Wonderland.
Really? I mean, I say it fully knowing that there's a Jabberwock somewhere and a Bandersnatch somewhere, but I think the Queen of Hearts and I could get along pretty well.
Well, if you didn't, it wouldn't last very long and you wouldn't know. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go. I wouldn't want to go to Narnia. That's a dangerous world. Would not want to go to Narnia. The Harry Potter world is just our world with magic. So I don't know.
But you'd be on the magic side of that.
Yeah. But then you have to deal with
Voldemort?
Huh?
Or in the Death Eaters?
No, I was going to say giant spiders.
Oh, well, there is that.
and basilisks. I guess I would love to live in the Hollows world. It's just our world with magic and witches and things.
I like it. What about if you could be any kind of magical or fantastical creature, what would you be?
Well, I'm already a magical and fantastical creature.
That
so
is
what kind
true.
of question is that? I'm kidding.
Well, your turn. No, I'm just kidding.
I would want to be one of those awful fairies that like steals children and curses people and does awful things to awful people. That's what I would want to be.
Okay. That's a new one.
It's a good answer though.
Well, just because everybody thinks fairies are like Tinkerbell and they're so cute. And I was like, no.
Or like super hot and will steal you away and
Okay.
like make you their
If you
queen.
Actually, read Peter Pan though. Tinkerbell is not some super cute fairy by any stretch. It's very much like if you read the actual Little Mermaid and stuff, not the Disney version. Tinkerbell is not a pleasant experience.
You're right. You're right. And the fact that we have made fairies these cute little things that go on dates with handsome boys, is just ridiculous to me. So I would want to be a real unseelie fae to remind everybody that no, you don't pick up the random coin that was left there without putting something there in return. Because that's how you get kidnapped by the fae.
I love that. Bo,
What is your least favorite genre?
Can it
you're
be a
thinking
subgenre?
Yes.
Diesel punk.
Why?
Because it's so limited in that part of the world, and I feel like whenever I read a diesel punk book, the author didn't take it far enough.
Mm.
Like you're talking World War II, you're talking mass killings, you're talking all of these things, and yet we're so focused on, I don't know, when people write it, they write it for the setting, not for the actual historical meat that's in it.
Right.
Which I guess you could say historical fiction is something I'm very picky about.
Yeah.
we had not noticed yet. Okay. What is something as an author that you are not the greatest at that you think? Like, what is your Achilles heel? What is something that you do when you're writing that, like, your editor is like, stop doing this?
Remembering my characters' names and how they're spelled. I'm really bad
I do
about
that
it.
Okay. What about something you're incredibly good at?
Making my editor laugh.
Good. I like it. I like it. Okay, Bo, ask a question. I'm gonna do the final one.
Oh, goodness. What is your favorite genre that you do not write?
I guess. I don't really write straight horror mysteries, I guess.
Mhm.
Very cool. Okay, final question. And this is for all of the prizes, as if we had any prize. Actually, you do get prizes for being on the show, technically. You get swag, so you
True.
get prizes for being on the show, regardless of how you do. Okay. If you could co-author a book with any author, who would you want to co-author with?
Anybody in the world?
Anyone in the world.
I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this. Bo?
You don't have to get in trouble for saying it. I'm co-authoring a book with Bo at some point because I came up with an
Don't make-
idea. Stick my
I
foot
would
in-
love to
Don't make me
co-author a
cry.
book with Bo,
Don't make me cry.
especially since I'm writing in first person these days.
I think that's a great answer. That's a perfect answer. Okay, shameless self-promotion time. Tell people how to find your books and how to find you on social media.
Lyra R Saenz is available on all booksellers that you can think of, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, whatever. One of my best friends did the audiobook. You can find that on Audible. And she did an amazing job, like made music for this audiobook. I believe one of the reviews that I saw was that reading Prelude was like reading a symphony. So if you like that kind of thing, if you like magic, if you like science, if you like tech, if you like sexy hot men and bisexual women, please give it a shot. There's a little bit of horror, a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of steaminess. And as usual, everything always relates back to how human we are. So give us a shot. The first book is Prelude here, which is actually not available.
It's really
in hardcover.
good. It's really
just for me.
good.
And then I've got, if you're looking for something that's a little shorter to read, I've got lots of novellas. Falsetto, if you're liking horror, Ragtime Swing is my lesbian mystery romance. I call it a mermaid noir. And then my most recent addition to the family is The Devil's Thrill, which you do not want to read this book until you've read Sonata, which is book 2 of the Nocturne Symphony, because this character has some pretty interesting things happen in this book. So
very cool. Very cool. Absolutely check it out, guys. Thank you so much for being on the podcast with us.
thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Guys, this has been Drinking with Authors, the Literary Briefs edition. I've been your host, Erica Lance, my amazing co-host, and apparently author extraordinaire that everybody wants to write with is Bo Lake, and we will see you guys next time. Oh, don't forget to like and subscribe.